Right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Licensing and Regulatory Committee. I'll just start with some housekeeping. There is a camera here. We are being live webcast and the video will be available to watch after the meeting's finished online as well. So just make sure that when you're speaking, the microphone's on and you speak into it clearly so that you can be heard by everybody in the room and also anybody who might be watching online now or later. The fire exits and the public toilets are at that end of the room. I have amended the order of the agenda today a little bit. It has been published in an order and I'm just mixing it up a bit. So we'll start with apologies and then declarations of interest and then public participation and then minutes and then the renewal of a sex establishment licence and then the Gambling Act local area profile. We just changed the order a bit just because we've got so many members of the public here and we don't want you to have to sit through other agenda items to get to the one that you're interested in. So I hope that's okay with everybody. So we'll start with apologies. We've got apologies from Councillor Kilbane. Everybody else is here. Welcome, everybody. Agenda item number 2 is declarations of interest. Do any members of the committee have any interests to declare about anything on the agenda today? No, not seeing any hands. Great. Okay, so then we'll move on to public participation. We've got 7 people registered to speak today in public participation. The first one on the list is Margaret Rush, who I think is here in person. Great. Come on up to the table, take a seat, get comfortable. There's a microphone there. If you press the button in the middle that says mic underneath it, it should light up. And then you can start whenever you're ready on your own time. You've got 3 minutes. If it looks like you might be going over, I'll just give you a bit of a warning so you can finish up. Okay, thanks very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Margaret Rush. My husband Graham and I are both company directors of Graham's Ices Limited, a York-based ice cream company which has been trading in York since 1974. I'd like to begin by thanking everyone involved in the process so far of developing a street trading policy. You've taken the time to listen to and consider the representations of the York Street Traders Association, and we believe that some progress has been made in recent months. However, there is still much work to be done in arriving at a good solution for all concerned. We note the formation of a working group, and we look forward to further liaison with its members going forward. I'd also like to extend our thanks to Councillor Kilbane, who quite rightly withdrew from the previous meeting due to the conflict of interests brought about by his involvement with Make It York. This conflict of interest does remain a concern going forward, as Make It York is, of course, 100% owned by City of York Council. Over the 6-week period of the Christmas market, social media channels showed numerous photos of a packed city centre, overcrowding in most areas, with a multitude of negative comments from York residents particularly, who often choose to stay away from the city centre during that period, myself included. Access for the disabled community also remains an issue, as well as ensuring public safety during any future events. The document presented to you today offers 3 options, with option 2 recommended for approval. Option 2 has the potential to devastate decades of street trading in York City Centre, destroy local established family businesses who make a year-round contribution to its life and economy, unlike the Christmas market traders. Will Make It York be looking to other areas of the city in the future? We have traded with an ice cream van on Marygate Landing for 36 years. We have great relationships with St John's University, York Art Market and the York Rotary Club. They all hold regular events in that area. Is this to be threatened in the future, purely for financial gain by Make It York and its shareholder? Our preference as an association is, of course, option 1. This maintains the status quo and gives consent holders certainty for the future of their businesses and livelihoods. Until the working party concludes its work, and this may take some months with further consultation at the end, no changes should be made at the present time. Option 1 does no damage. By speaking out against Make It York, we feel that there is now a big concern repercussions. They haven't acknowledged our concerns. Any chance for working relationship has broken down due to our opposition. There has been no interest in real cooperation. Our vulnerability is due to the fact that our shops have wheels rather than bricks.
You've been speaking for 3 minutes now, so do you mind just wrapping up, please?
It's the last paragraph, so I'll
Great.
start again. Our vulnerability is due to the fact that our shops have wheels rather than bricks. But the future of our local independent businesses must be safeguarded over the commercial gains of a private company. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come and speak to us this evening. You're welcome to sit in the public gallery and watch. The next speaker is Dan Zockerlin, who I think is here in person as well. Welcome, come on up. Yeah, there's a button in the middle you can press, the microphone will come on, and then start whenever you're ready. I'll give you a warning if it looks like you're going to go over 3 minutes.
Hello, councillors. So I'm Dan Zockerlin, and I've been running a street trading business in York for over 13 years, and I've got multiple sites across the city. I'd like to take a moment to address some of the issues raised in the most recent report. A significant portion of the report has focused on the impact of street trading pitches in St Sampson's Square and Parliament Street on the Christmas market, giving the impression that Make It York is primarily concerned with a few specific pitches. This, in my view, is misleading and does not reflect the full picture. One of my trading consents is in King Square, where my pitch, along with others, is regularly displaced by large seasonal structures like the Ghost Train in October and the Carousel during Christmas. These structures take up the entire square, narrowing pavements and creating overcrowding and obstructing the visibility of existing businesses and York's iconic historic locations, such as the Shambles. Make It York's continued placement of these structures in King's Square shows a clear preference for profit over the responsible use of the city centre space, with little regard for local businesses that depend on it. If accessibility is an issue, then option 2 would enable Make It York to move us, but not to better the city, but to accommodate more profit-driven attractions like the Carousel that are only there to make a quick buck during Christmas. This at the expense of businesses that have long contributed to York's vibrancy, job market and economy. We, the traders, are not unreasonable. Over the years, we've complied with this requirement, even at the cost of losing trade when no suitable alternative locations are available. However, there is a fundamental difference between moving for essential works and being relocated purely for financial gain of another private company. It's this distinction I ask you as councillors to consider when making your decision. By choosing option 1, you will be showing your support for hard-working local families by providing us with the security and certainty that our pitches will remain in place during the busiest time of the year. And I want to stress how vital the Christmas season is to our business. It is this time that allows us to keep our staff employed and fund operations during the quieter months. Without Christmas, street trading simply would not be viable. Option 1 is the only option that brings clarity and stability for all parties involved. Make It York would have clear boundaries, licensing, and the council would maintain control, and street traders would be able to plan for the future with confidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking time to come and talk to us. As always, you're welcome to sit in the public gallery and watch. The next speaker is Andrea Piet. Yeah, you're familiar with how the microphone and everything works, so go ahead whenever you're ready. Yeah, it will light up when it's on. Yeah.
I should have been familiar.
Good evening, elected members. My name is Andrea Piet, and I'm here to speak to you again about the street trading policy, specifically about the update report and the implications of the options presented. As a street trading consent holder and a full-time employee, I implore you to vote for option 1. I cannot emphasize enough how damaging it would be to the city's existing local independent street trading businesses if option 2 were the chosen path. I would like to address 2 points of concern regarding option 2. First, the issue of relocation is, in practical application, a hollow promise. These pitches have existed as street trading pitches in these specific locations for many years prior to Make It York's inception and the creation of the Christmas market. These businesses have collectively spent decades building a presence in the city and adding to its vibrant and unique character. We have regular customers and have invested heavily in catering units that are not only made for purpose, but are tailored to be location specific. In December, we were grateful to have the opportunity to meet with a number of committee members on location during the market. And one of the most important points that we tried to show was how essential our locations are to our businesses. Over the years, as Make It York has tried to rearrange the market, new pitches have been created within view of the very busiest thoroughfare and just meters away. These pitches no longer exist due to a lack of custom, though they were right off the market itself. The promise of relocation to an unspecified location somewhere on the footprint of the market, which in reality extends far past Parliament Street and away from the high traffic areas in the city, is more a guarantee of failure than a viable trade. Second, the option 2 seems to imply that street traders would only be affected during Christmas. In reality, this is already not the case. Traders are regularly displaced throughout the year in King Square due to the installation of fairground rides for weeks at a time or the presence of charity booths. Beyond King Square, traders have already received letters in December of the past year, long before today's vote, notifying us that we will be unable to trade during Feb half term this year due to new space requirements for the Viking Festival. It may appear that we are only speaking about the Christmas market, but in reality, Make It York already removes traders from our pitches or hires these pitches out to other parties without notifying us. Voting for option 2 will facilitate and inevitably guarantee the removal of York street traders during all busy seasons. We trade from these pitches all year round, funding the quietest seasons with the busy periods and ensuring that York streets are interesting and characterful to both residents and visitors alike outside of city events. To remove us during the busiest times of year so that a larger company can use these pitches to reap greater profit seems not only unfair, but it goes against the values that we look to our elected city councillors to uphold. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. That was almost bang on 3 minutes. Thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk to us. Next on the list is Rob Collins. Come on up. Again, you've got 3 minutes when the I think the microphone's already on.
Yep.
So just start whenever you're ready in your own time. And if it looks like you're going with 3 minutes, I'll just let you know so you can wrap up.
Okay. Hello, I'm a street trader and I've spoken to this committee before, so thank you for having me back. I've read the notes. I am disappointed to see that the quality and professionalism of the street traders has not been noted in the notes, and the value that we bring to the city all year round feel like it's been overlooked. Highlighting the number of people on a waiting list does not do justice to the effort and commitment that the street traders of York put in. And to that extent, the report does not highlight the catastrophic effect moving street traders from their spots during the busy periods would do to hardworking family businesses who employ good, loyal staff all year round. If you were to vote on option 2, you can't go back from that. That's it for the future. Option 2 is currently too vague to be adopted and leaves it wide open to be exploited and abused at any further point down the road, and I can see that happening. To put this in context, I trade on King Square. Last year, we traded in front of a large ghost train fairground ride at Halloween and a carousel with 3 diesel generators at Christmas. The generators themselves took up more than our footprint, and if option 2 were in place, in the interest of overcrowding issues, we could be moved around the corner right next to the generators. We wouldn't make any money and our business would be paralysed. And it is our unit that's causing overcrowding, but option 2 means that we could be the first casualties over anyone and anything else. And I don't see how that is fair. The mention of negotiating a fee for a different spot indicates that in option 2 indicates that our viable spots could be taken off us. We would have to pay a premium to have a spot anywhere near as good as the spot we already occupy and nurture, which doesn't make any sense. 5 Saturdays of the year, the market is really, really busy at Christmas. 6 days a week. It's well managed, it's well maintained, and it's not too busy at all. Journalists and keyboard warriors have dramatically obscured this, and it really doesn't help at all. Currently, the wording of option 2 gives carte blanche to move any or all of us for any reason and to anywhere within the city that could be justified as the Christmas footprint. So I don't know if there's a way to rewrite option 2 or give street traders appropriate assurances and guarantees. But if you have to vote on one of these options, option 2 is far too wide. It's too vague to not be exploited, which basically leaves option 1 as the only fair option left standing. So I would urge you to see common sense and vote for option 1, please, and not option 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. The next speaker on the list is Ian Burgess. Welcome to the meeting. Take a seat and then start whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Again, 3
My name's
minutes.
Ian Burgess. I make candles. These are one of the little babies. And I have an industrial unit, 1,100 square foot industrial unit in Poppleton. And I've been making candles there for the last 10, 11, 12 years, supported by the license that I have in King Square, which works quite well. The first few months of the year, we make virtually no money on that pitch, but July and August, we do quite well. And the Christmas period, we do quite well. But the Christmas period pays for the January, February, March, where we're taking no money, basically. So that's how kind of the year pans out. Option one seems to me to be pretty much the status quo. You know, that's worked well for me for the last 10, 11 years. There's been stability. Everybody knew where they stood. And there was no room for, you know, I fear that, you know, there's sometimes room for well, I'm trying to avoid the word corruption, but everybody knew where they stood, everything was open, and everybody knew what was going on. Option two seems to be there's a group who now want to have a blank sheet of paper to do whatever they want in York. And you know, if I look at King Square, where I am, as a microcosm of York, they had a blank sheet of paper there. And for the last few years, without any communication, they've stuck a carousel in the middle of the square, evicting the street entertainers, who are an important part of the attraction of York, without giving them any other options or places to go. So no discussion. Against the wishes, the known wishes of all of the traders around there, the shops, the traders, the chocolate story, Barnett's, everybody, you know, nobody wanted that there. But Make York didn't care about that, and they stick it in there anyway. No notice given, and so on. So that's, you know, that's how I think they would end up functioning later. And also, to me, there's a big issue about if they're going to decide people are going to move, who's going to move where, who makes that decision, how much are they going to pay, who makes that decision. You know, it leaves itself open to all sorts of abuse. And so I think that the mandate they're looking for is far too broad, because nobody will know where they stand if you bring that in. Nobody will know, do I have this pitch? Do I not have this pitch? If I have the pitch, how much I'm going to pay? Who's going to make that decision? When are they going to make that decision? None of this has been made clear by Make It York. They're just asking for a blank sheet of paper to do whatever they like. And I think that's just not the way business should be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come and speak to us. The next speaker on the list is Hannah Sherwood, who I think is joining us remotely. Can you hear us, Hannah?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
I do have a 6-week-old baby strapped to me, and she's being really noisy with her breathing, so I'm sorry if that's quite distracting, but I'll try my best.
Congratulations. Yeah, we can
Thank
hear them, but we can hear you clearly as well. So start on your own time, and if you need to stop, take a break or anything, then we'll, you know, factor that into the timing. That's fine. We'll make sure.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, councillors. I'm Hannah, the wife of Tom Jackson and owner of Jacksons of York, which was established in 1982. Before joining our family business in 2020, I was pursuing a doctorate in environmental sciences at the University of Leeds. Unfortunately, COVID-19 prevented me from continuing this. However, I do still know that any kind of research requires scientific integrity, and that is everything to the research. And that principle of integrity must still apply here with the report that has been put together by the council and Make It York. Make It York's survey of the Christmas market this year gathered the opinions of just 103 people. That's less than 0.01% of the estimated 1.2 million visitors to York over those 6 weeks. That sample size is a pitiful attempt at assessing the Christmas market, and cannot be the basis for decisions that affect the future of our family businesses. We're not a research organisation, but when we ran a petition at our ice cream stalls last summer, we gathered 2,000 signatures supporting street traders in our city. The public recognises our value, and it's time for you, as publicly elected members of this council, to acknowledge this too. Option 2 is not a compromise which appeases all parties. It is a threat to everything we have worked for. It's a proposal that puts profit over people, driven solely by the ambition of Make It York to have total control over street trading in the city centre. Why should the council agree to this power grab? We street traders have gone through enough now. The constant anxiety, uncertainty and stress on our personal lives is unacceptable. This proposal has caused real harm and it must end here. The only way to ensure the future of our businesses and give Make It York the planning stability that they also need is to choose option 1. The licensing department's report states that the Christmas market has always been planned around existing straight trading positions. So why change that now? We've seen no evidence and there are no plans supporting the idea that relocating street traders would alleviate any overcrowding. The idea that Make It York suddenly can't organise a Christmas market without pushing out local traders is unfounded. If the council bases its decision solely on the paper-thin evidence in Make It York market review, it would easily open the door for a judicial review, something I'm sure we would all like to avoid. Councillors, this whole fiasco has been a thinly veiled power grab on the part of Make It York. Option 2 would give them the ability to move us anywhere in the city, sell our spots to the highest bidder, completely undermining the livelihoods of small, local, family businesses. For the sake of our businesses, our families, and the rich cultural fabric of York, I urge you to stand with us, the public, and the local hardworking families who create jobs and breathe life into the city centre all year round. Do not ignore our concerns. Be on the side of the public and help us to secure not just this Christmas, but a future where we can all thrive together. Choose option 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today. And when we get to that agenda item, you'll be able to watch it online. The last registered speaker on the list is Tom Jackson, who's here in person. Yeah, great. Again, you know how it works, you know how the microphone works, and yeah, you've got 3 minutes to start whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors, for your time today. I'd like to comment on the 2 options that you've been given to vote on. Option 1 ensures current street traders' positions are respected, providing business stability without the threat of relocation. For consent holders, it ensures the viability of our business models, secures jobs for our staff, and allows the continuation of relationships with local suppliers. It also reflects the support of over 2,000 members of the public who signed our petitions that request the council to back local street traders. The certainty that we will remain in our established positions during what is the busiest time of year for all retail in York is vital to us. Option 1 also allows Make It York to plan with confidence, knowing that these existing street trading pitches are to be respected, just as they have been for the past 10 years of the Christmas market. So option 1 is what we're asking you to vote for. The implementation of option 2 would be a disaster for all established street traders in York. It allows Make It York to move street traders from established trading locations during the busiest time of year and does not guarantee that traders will be offered positions that are equivalent to the well-established high-profile pitches that we currently operate from. I can't stress enough how moving us to a quiet corner of York would be utterly devastating to our business. The reason we've been able to survive over the last 40 years is because we operate from prominent and viable pitches. Our business model, the jobs of our staff and our mortgages rely upon these specific trading positions, especially over the festive period. Option 2 is literally like saying to a council leased shop on the shambles, we're suspending your right to trade for the busiest weeks of the year and we're subletting your shop to a trader from outside of York for the Christmas period. It would be totally outrageous and yeah, rightly so. Make It York's written submission makes it quite clear what their intentions are. They will relocate us. There is also no guarantee of fair treatment and Make It York's interests will come first. The council would be relinquishing all responsibility for its street traders, small, loyal family businesses and hard-working York residents. We need your support and your protection from companies who have one sole priority and that's profit. Councillors, my family is dependent on you. Our mortgage relies solely on the income we receive and fundamentally the trade we do during the Christmas period. Option 2 would be devastating and there's no question of that. So please support us and choose option 1.
Thank you very much for your time and for coming to speak to us this evening. So that we've now heard from everyone who registered to speak in public participation. So the next item on the agenda is minutes. We've got one set of minutes from the 4th of November. Is everybody happy to accept them as an accurate record? Councillor Mason.
Thanks. On page 15, the second bullet point down, I was referring to the leader, not the deputy leader, just about the conflict of being a director of Make It York.
So say that again?
Just to make it the leader, not the deputy leader. It says, at the point, member questioned the transparency regarding the deputy leader being a director of Make It York. It was the leader.
Was it? Right, okay.
It's Claire that's the leader, that's the director, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're referring to Councillor Corbyn being a member of the committee. I can't
I'm sorry,
remember.
because I was
Well,
told
it was
off
you who
that-
said it, so if
yeah.
that's your recollection of what was said.
I'm happy for it to be watched back again, but I was definitely talking about Claire and the conflict of the leader being a director.
Okay.
Maybe I fully articulated it, but that was what I meant, but
Are you happy for us to check
yeah,
the
watch
webcast
back. Yeah.
and check that it's correct before signing the minutes? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll make a note of that. Does anybody else have any matters of accuracy? Councillor Baxter?
It's just tiny, but it says Councillor Hook Baxter. Me and Anne seem to have amalgamated on one of them. I can't remember if it was me or if it was
Which
Anne. Sorry, page 16. I've just noticed it. I don't know if it was me or Councillor Hook. So.
But yeah, thank you. I thought I'd read the minutes thoroughly and I didn't spot that. So again, we'll double check who it was who seconded it and make sure that's correct before I sign them. Thanks for spotting it. Any other points of accuracy, or with those two amendments, is everyone happy to approve them as an accurate record? Oh yeah, I've spotted a couple of typos as well. We'll sort them out. Okay, apart from that, everybody happy to approve them as an accurate record? Okay, great. Thank you very much, everybody. So we'll move to agenda item 7, street trading policy update, which starts on page 117 of the agenda pack. And I'll start by inviting officers to introduce this agenda item and the report for us. And if you could introduce yourselves first time you speak.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm Matt Boxall, Head of Public Protection. I'd like to begin, actually, Chair, by making a new recommendation, if I may. You'll appreciate that in the lead up to these meetings, there is it's such that the reports are written a few weeks in advance in order to go through the process and obviously get it published a week before. And in the meantime, in particular this case, things have been evolving. I'm aware that Make It York are in the midst of producing their designs for the Christmas market event, and that they're not too far away from being able to share those, to share their thinking. Having the information available about exactly where the street traders might be, and how this fits into the context of providing greater accessibility and space for visitors, I think is likely to help you to make a more informed decision, and indeed enable the street traders to comment in on exactly what is being proposed and comment on that detail. So I'd recommend that the decision in relation to issuing the street trading consents is deferred to the next meeting. Now, I appreciate this is not ideal, but the next meeting is only 4 weeks away, fortuitously. The reason for that recommendation is to enable you to make a much better decision in light of the new and additional information. I'm obviously happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions about that recommendation to defer?
Do you want debate now about deferring it or
any questions first, and then if anybody. Yeah.
well, apart from the fact we had this written submission at the 11th hour, and then now we're told it's going to be, they've got a new plan they're trying to draw up. I don't know what the logic was between the two, why that wasn't a written submission.
I mean, they're not here to ask. Their public participation was written rather than being here in person, so we can't ask them that, but we could ask them between, if we defer, we can ask them that between now and then. Councillor Nichols?
This is obviously 11.5 hours. So what have they made the plans based on? Us moving the traders or not moving the traders? I'm not sure how they've managed to come up with any plans, as exciting as they may be, when they haven't actually had a decision from us to know, are we moving or not moving?
I don't know, and I don't think we can, I think there's quite a lot of information that it would be helpful for the committee to have, and we can't get answers to things like that right now. We could get the answers if we defer it. I personally don't want to spend a long time debating all the other options if we're going to end up deferring it. So if anybody would like to propose deferring it, we can see whether we want to do that or not before spending a long time considering other options. Yeah, Councillor Cuthbertson, thank you. Anybody would like to second that? Councillor Baxter. Okay, thank you. Any debate on whether or not to defer, or should we? Yeah, Councillor Smalley.
I sort of don't understand why I do take some of your point, Matt. But there's a thorough report in front of us. And I'm definitely going to vote against deferral, and I think we should debate the report.
Thank you. Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Chair. It's interesting because I oppose your recommendation as set out in the papers and part welcome new recommendation to defer. That said, I don't want to just keep kicking the can further down the road. I support option 1, which would give street traders, you know, what they deserve and some reasonability. This has been 12, 18 months. And I want them to be able to plan as well for their annual trading, and to just do another 4 weeks. I'm not sure I've got the assurance that when we get back here in 4 weeks, we've got enough further detail to either allow us to make a reasonable decision at that point, or still be seeking more information. A site plan would have been great in advance of this meeting, and costs associated with what additional charges Make It York would want to hammer the local businesses with, etc. And you know, again, just don't have the assurance that we come back here in 4 weeks and we have that information. So I'm against deferring at this stage. I'd like to give some certainty to street traders.
Inviting officers to come in on that, and then I'll come to Councillor Williams.
Leslie Cook, Council Licensing Manager. From the officer's perspective on this, with regards to, I understand what Councillor Myers is saying, but a decision would have to be made in March. These consents expire on the 31st of March this year. We have to know what we are renewing. So a decision would have to be made at the March committee with how the 2025-26 renewals are dealt with.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Thank you. I fully understand everyone's frustration with the idea of deferring, and that the street traders who've come tonight would not then get a decision, and it feels frustrating all round. However, when I look at the options, I'm not actually comfortable with any of them, because I don't feel that any of them are safe options, in that option 1, we can't possibly guarantee to not relocate street traders, because if highway works happen, we have to move street traders. If the counter-terrorism police insist we move street traders, we have to move them. So it feels like the wording there is not safe. In option 2, I'm not comfortable because we don't know what the footprint of the Christmas market event is, and we don't know what the footprint of the Christmas market event footprint is. So it's not clear to us exactly what we would be agreeing. And option 3 gives us kicks it down the road 6 months. So I would prefer to defer, just because I don't feel these options give enough clarity for us to make a sound decision.
Thank you. Councillor Widdowson.
Thank you. I rarely do this, Councillor Avillius, but on this occasion I strongly disagree with that particular point of view. I think building on what, I can't see your name, I'm really sorry. Leslie, building on what Leslie said, we need a decision, right? We need a decision sooner rather than later so that the traders have got clarity, so that Make It York have got clarity, and so that we have got clarity in terms of letting them trade for 12 months. We never know the shape and the size of the Christmas market. It changes every year. Sometimes it's in the judges' lodgings, sometimes it's by the Minster, sometimes it's facing each other, sometimes it's facing apart down Parliament Street. We never know when a gas mains is going to go or an electricity place is going to go. That's life. When you look at the Coney Street at the moment, depending where people are going to be. So I disagree that any of those are issues to defer again. These people, their livelihood is based on this and they need some security. Somebody kept telling me every 2 or 3 months, do you know what, we'll tell you when you'll get paid, we'll tell you where you're going to turn up for work, we'll tell you what we're going to say to you, but give us another 6 weeks. I'd be having a slight nervous breakdown in a corner. We should give them clarity and give ourselves the opportunity within a year, because I would imagine we're going to need a year to give people the clarity and the stability. In a year's time, take that time to revisit it, but make sure that these traders have the ability to continue to have their livelihoods.
Thank you. Councillor Smalley?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just say, I've finally caught up with my emails after several months being slightly behind. Yeah, I've not had any email about the proposal that we've just heard tonight. That would have been relatively easy. I propose we move to a vote on whether we defer or not.
Yeah. I just want to hear from other people who have their hands up, just so their opinions aren't being missed in our considerations. So there's Councillor Nichols and then me, and then I haven't seen any other hands.
Just a question for the officers. What's the difference between option 1 now and moving people in an emergency and what currently happens? Is there any difference between option 1 and what currently happens?
No, if there was an emergency situation, be it roadworks, be it the counter-terrorism police or whatever, that it is a condition of a street trading consent that we can move a trader.
So that was almost exactly the question I was going to ask, actually, because my understanding was that it's never been possible in the past to have the Christmas market without moving any street traders. There's always been at least one street trader that's had to move a bit. I know that the council and Make It York do work really hard every year to accommodate street traders and not have to move any, but it's never been possible before to have that guarantee of not moving any street traders. So do we know that it would actually be possible to do it this year?
I don't know what Make It York plans are. I haven't seen any layout designs that Make It York are proposing, but the one street trader that always has to move because of the Christmas market in St Simpson Square, and bizarrely I forgot about him when I wrote this report, is the evening hot food trader that works late nights, because he usually stands in the middle of St Sampson Square, and of course the market definitely is in the middle of St Sampson Square, so he always has to move.
So, oh yeah, go ahead.
I just add to that, but I'm not Make It York. I need to stress I'm not Make It York. But you know, I'm here to express the views. So I have the benefit. I think Make It York are really conscious about how they make the market more accessible and provide that more space. That's the feedback, and that's why that's why option 2 is there, to give them that ability to do that. But as I say, they are working on plans that takes all that into account, including the street traders. So that's why I recommend that you have the benefit of that information before making your decision. I think you'll lead to a better decision personally.
So my personal opinion that I'll just add into the debate is that if we defer this till the next meeting, it doesn't actually really kick the can down the road or like, it won't change the date that the consent's issued. The consents aren't granted and issued for the following year. You know, they all expire in March and they're not granted until mid to late March. So it's possible for us to defer this decision, come back to it at the next meeting, and it won't change at all the date that that consent is issued and that certainty is given and the conditions and the locations are known. So I don't think that deferring it to the next meeting would change, yeah, and anything. I don't think it would kick it down the road. When I read the report, I felt like there was quite a lot of implications of option 1 and option 2 that we just don't know yet. They're not in the report. The work's still being done to find out those implications. I think there could be some quite significant implications of option 1. I don't know for sure because we haven't got the information, but it really could have implications on the accessibility of the Christmas market, the viability of the Christmas market. There could be equalities implications that we don't know, and I think we should get more information. And same with option 2. We heard in public participation that there's implications of option 2 that street traders would like to know. And I think we should know as a committee that we don't know at this point. And if we defer it, we can get that information and just make a much better informed, better decision. And I haven't seen any other hands to offer any other opinions. So Councillor Waters, and then we'll move to a vote on deferring and then decide what to do.
I was just going to say I'd have had a lot more respect for that view and the request for a deferral had Make It York actually bothered to turn up at this meeting tonight and make that point. I honestly think that these ordinary working people deserve some form of closure on all this. It's been dragging on and on and on. I'm totally opposed to deferring it. I think we need to make a decision tonight.
Okay. I can't see any other hands to express opinions in the debate on whether or not to defer. So we'll take a debate on whether or not to defer this item, and then we'll move from there depending on the outcome. So all those in favour of deferral? All those against deferral? And there's no abstentions, so that's 6 votes to defer, 8 not to defer, so we haven't deferred. So I'll invite officers to introduce the report and the other options.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So, as requested at the last committee in November, this report updates members on the current position regarding the street trading policy and asks members to determine arrangements for the city centre street traders, trading consent holders, trading pitches for the 2025 Christmas market. I'm not going to go into the background of the report. Members will probably look at this and think a lot of that is very similar to what was in the November report. Make It York has been asked by the council, as members know, to assess the layout of the Christmas market event, especially in relation to making the event more accessible and finding ways to permit blue badge access into the city centre. And as Matt pointed out, Make It York are putting those proposals together as we speak. It was also raised at the November committee that we should look at forming a working group with regards to from members of this committee, so that we can, as a group, we can work together to review the draft policy. And I think that there's going to be some changes to that policy, so a further consultation would be required before that comes back before this committee. In the period of time before the last committee, we have formed a working group. The first meeting of the working group was on Tuesday this week. It was quite evident from the time that the members who were part of that working group, Matt and I, spent together, that there are a number of things that we have to take into consideration and look at with regards to this policy. So there are 3 options before you today. Option 1, each option does say, note that we've formed a working group, but the options before you today, option 1, determine that street trading consents will be renewed from the 1st of April for a 12-month period or such lesser period agreed when the consent was originally granted, and that Make It York takes into consideration the current trading pitches of consented street traders and draft layout plans for the 2025 Christmas market event that does not relocate these traders. But there does need to be a caveat to that, because the fact, and we definitely know that one street trader will have to be moved because of the market. And for the safety and good order, consented street traders will follow reasonable instructions from Make It York officers. Option 2, determine that street trading consents will be renewed from the 1st of April for a 12-month period or such lesser period agreed when the consents were granted. That consented street traders could be relocated during the 25 Christmas market event to assist Make It York with planning the layout of the event and to make the event more accessible. That Make It York guarantee a pitch for within the Christmas market event footprint at no additional cost to consent holders. If the consent holders would like an alternative pitch within the 2025 Christmas market event, that they must make that request to Make It York, and any additional charge will be agreed and with Make It York. And for the safety and good order, consented street traders will follow reasonable instructions from Make It York officers. Option 3, determine that street trading consents will be renewed for a 6-month period for those that are in the city centre, and for those outside of the city centre for a 12-month period, allowing the working group time to review the draft street trading policy. And the recommendation is option 2.
No, I think that's covered it. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll start with questions first. If anyone has any questions on the report, we won't do debate and opinions yet, but just if anyone wants to clarify anything. Councillor Smalley, did you have your hand up?
Chair, I'd like to propose option 1. With this agenda's been published
Do you
a
have
while.
any questions to
No, I
start
don't,
with?
but people have had opportunities to email officers if they had sort of really substantial questions that would change their
Well,
opinion.
let me just see if anybody has any questions first, and if nobody has any questions, I'll come to you first for debate and any proposals. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Councillor Aurelius.
Do we have a map of the current trading pitches, and does this option 1 mean that it guarantees the exact current trading pitches of existing traders, and does it give those traders first refusal of those current pitches? What exactly does it mean?
We do know the locations of all the current trading pitches. There is still the condition on a street trading consent that somebody could be asked to move slightly, or worst case, we've got a gas leak or something like that and things have to be moved. So there would still be, there's no guarantees that there couldn't be a situation where a trader wouldn't have to be moved, but it does mean that if their sites are available, that they will be available to those traders. Does that make sense, what I just said?
Does that answer your question, Councillor Aurelius?
So, I mean, I'm just thinking it's not just the Christmas market, presumably, does it affect the food festival or the Viking festival next year or any other events? Does option 1 have other implications beyond the Christmas market?
No, there's only when the street trading policy was drafted and the initial paragraph 8.2, it did say Make It York organised events. And the Viking Festival and the Food and Drink Festival and things like that are not Make It York organised events. They're a private event organiser who asks Make It York if they can use that land. So it would only be for an event that has been organised by Make It York.
Councillor Clark?
Thanks, Chair. Just on option one, because you mentioned the takeaway in St Sampson's, what is the implication of option one for that particular unit?
The late night trader that we have on St Sampson's Square, because of his trading location, is more central in the square. That trader has always had to be relocated due to the Christmas market, but we have always found that trader an alternative trading location.
Councillor Wilson?
Thanks, Chair. Mine is a little bit of a hypothetical question. So my understanding for coming up with option two was that we wanted the Christmas market to be more accessible so that blue badge holders can access the city. But completely hearing people's concerns about their livelihoods and the possibility of them moving according to what Make It York wants to do, is there a way that street traders can keep their spots and Make It York can work around that to make the market accessible? I'm assuming that that's what they're trying to do, but obviously we don't have that information.
Yeah, I'd deal with that one if I can. So that is what the option two is. It is about well, option two is about giving Make It York a blank canvas. Option one is about saying to Make It York, you need to design the market with these street traders in these positions. Obviously, you know, if something happens like the Gas League or the terrorism police, the counter-terrorism advice is that they're not safe locations to put traders, then that would need to be respected. But the option one is in the plans that those traders are cited there, and that everything else works around that. So you know, they need to have. It doesn't give them the blank canvas to work around accessibility issues, things like that. It doesn't give them the blank canvas to think about how best to use the space. So it just restricts those options, which is why option two is the preferred option, with the guarantees that Make It York are putting in to ensure that those traders are still part of the event, very much part of the event.
Councillor Myers? Oh, sorry, was that yeah, is it on the same topic?
So to be clear, it's putting the onus on Make It York to work around where the street traders currently are, and that they could still make the Christmas market accessible, but it would be potentially more difficult, but not impossible to do so.
You put that far more eloquently than I did.
Good, thank you.
Do we know at this point whether it's possible or impossible or not?
I don't know. I'm not Make It York, but that's what you're inviting them to do, is to look at ways to make it accessible to street traders where they are. Yeah.
But at this point, we don't know if it is actually possible to make it accessible with street traders where they are.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Myers?
It's just to further develop that point, Chair. The city centre can be accessible and is accessible for the rest of the year outside the Christmas market, like we've just seen at this last Christmas. So option one can absolutely work with accessibility aims of the council. It just means that Make It York will have to look at the way that they plan the market, and any ask for a blank canvas means that they can choose to move street traders out of the way so that they can maximise what they gain from selling pictures at the Christmas market. It's a supplementary to that point. No, it's not a question, but it is for clarity, because the question's been asked by Councillor Wilson, and the point is that option one can deliver an accessible Christmas market. And so I am hammering that home, because the city centre is accessible the rest of the year with the allocated street trading pitches that have been set up for street traders. So I simply don't accept it. It's putting capital above what should be reasonable business dealings from Make It York.
Is yours a question, Councillor Villiers? Yeah, go ahead then.
Yeah, I just would like confirmation that the current locations of the traders are accessible in terms of they don't prevent any accessibility. That's why I would really like a map of where those locations are, so that we are clear of exactly what we're approving. So to be clear, I feel uncomfortable with all of these options, but I'm not sure with option 1 that the current locations are accessible. I don't know where they are.
There isn't. It's for the whole year. It's not all Christmas, that isn't it?
We can provide a map for members of where all the current street trading locations are.
But not in this.
Not this second, sorry, no, not this second, I
without
can't know.
referring it.
Yeah, I can tell you where they are off the top of my head, but I can't give you a map of where they all are.
So we'd have to defer to get that information. Councillor Widdowson, is it a question?
It's a quick question. They are accessible. We've seen them around the city. I've lived here for 27 years. Most of the places are accessible. We don't need a map to do it. I think we're analysing our belly button fluff, and I would really like to get to just a vote on this, option 1, 2 or 3. So can I propose we vote?
There's a couple of hands, because if people have questions and there's information that people feel they need to be able to make a decision, I would like to make sure people have an opportunity to ask those questions. So Councillor Nichols and Councillor Waters have got a question.
Do we assume for the last 10 years that Make It York's plans have been accessible for disabled people and everything else, therefore, or have they been breaking the law for the last 10 years?
Members, as Councillor Widdowson said, that over the years, people will have noticed that the layout of the Christmas market has changed, especially on the Parliament Street element of the Christmas market. And that has had to change due to feedback of concerns with regards to overcrowding, access in, you know, when the stalls were facing each other and all the crowds were in the middle, how they could easily get out of that situation if there was an emergency. So the layout of the market has changed over the years, and the last couple of years it's probably its biggest couple of changes. And of course we no longer have the bar. There used to always be a bar at outside, sort of like Halifax end, and we haven't had a bar there for the last couple of years. Again, make it more accessible and more room for the stalls.
And Councillor Waters, you have a question?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, not wanting to prolong this and hopefully might put the situation to bed. Just wanting to ask Leslie, has there been any complaints about the street traders' pitches causing accessibility issues? If so, how many? And I'm assuming there hasn't been many, if at all, and you'll be able to recollect them off the top of your head rather than needing a map producing.
We don't get complaints about the street trading pitches, but we do receive feedback that the Christmas market is busy. Yeah.
So just to clarify, there's been no complaints about the position of the street trading, the regular street trading pitches causing accessibility issues?
No, not about a specific street trading pitch. No, we haven't.
Can't see any other hands for questions, so we'll move to debate then, and Councillor Smalley had his hand up first for that.
Just to reiterate my move to the vote, I propose option 1.
Second option 1.
Okay, so option 1 has been proposed and seconded. So any debate? Yeah, Councillor Mason?
It's not really debate, but this document obviously refers, or that Leslie's report refers to the draft street trading policy and the working group. And obviously Leslie's mentioned herself there that it's almost not a review of the draft street trading policy. It's almost let's start again and have a look at it. So just to say, as part of all this, if we can pick that up as maybe an update report to the next meeting about what that's going to look like, that whole process, so all members understand what that task group actually is doing, would be useful. Thank you.
No one else putting a hand up? I'll go ahead and share my view. Yeah, Councillor Clark there, go ahead.
I will, but it's not, it's kind of like a point to follow that one up, really. It's not really about the options, and it's really about, we're making this decision until we have the working group, until we have the new policy. I just wanted to confirm that, because I think some of the issues that were raised earlier by some of the speakers, or one of the speaker in particular, was worried that, you know, if we took this decision now, particularly in reference to option 2, that would be it. But I don't believe that to be the case, and that the policy will be as it is, as the working group develops it over the next few months.
That's correct, and that's why I believe that once the policy that was drafted will go through various changes, and that's why it will need another formal consultation at the end of when the working group is ready to release it to the world, so to speak.
And I still can't see any hands, so I'll go ahead and share my opinion. I think that option 1, we don't know yet all the implications of that option, and I'm personally not comfortable with selecting an option where we don't know what that could cause. We don't know what the implications of it could be. The Christmas market currently, there's a lot of ways that it could be made or more accessible. It's quite inaccessible in a lot of ways. And if having this rigidity and lack of flexibility means that it's less accessible, then that's quite a serious equalities issue. Blue badge access, there isn't any city centre blue badge access during the Christmas market, and there's other access issues with the Christmas market as well. And I think that having as much flexibility as possible to improve the accessibility is very important, so that disabled people can enjoy the Christmas market just as much as anyone and everyone. I think potentially being this rigid, not moving any market traders at all, could also affect the viability of the market. I think our options either are to do the option 1 as written, which we know isn't possible because it's never been possible to do the Christmas market without moving any traders, or we vary the option to single out one trader without any equalities impact assessment of the legalities of treating one consent holder differently. I just think it's premature to make this decision. We haven't got all the information we need. We don't have the implications. I think that option 2 is a good option. I think that currently street traders can be moved or removed at any time for any reason. That's always been a condition of the consents. We, as a council, try to avoid doing that as much as possible and always go to every effort to keep street traders in their pitches. And option 2 allows for that to happen. It allows for a market to be designed in a way that works around the street traders as much as possible, but where it's essential to move them, they will be guaranteed a spot in the market, whereas at the moment there's no guarantee of being allowed to trade during Christmas at all. If it's necessary to move them, they could be moved anywhere. And I think option 2 offers that security of being guaranteed somewhere in the Christmas market. That's my opinion, and I've now seen that Councillor Hook has her hand up, so we'll go to you.
Yes, I think there's an important point of principle between moving someone because of exceptional circumstances, that dangerous circumstances, whatever, and moving someone to improve the profitability of someone else or allow another profitable business in. And that was made clear to me by that analogy that one of the speakers said about you wouldn't ask a shop in the shambles to shut and have a temporary person operating from that. And I think that's a fundamental difference. And that to me is the difference.
I do want everyone to have a chance to express their opinion and have that, so that everyone can consider everyone's views when deciding how to vote. So Councillor Aurelius and then Councillor Baxter.
Can I just have clarity on option 1 in terms of are we saying there is an exception? Option one includes an exception where one trader would be moved. Is that what the option one means? Or does it mean literally every trader would not be moved, so it would be different from previous years?
Yeah, the wording of, if members were going to go for option one, I would please ask that the wording is amended slightly, that to take into consideration that our late night trader would have to move. And that we find them a location in as close as possible to their previous location, but yes, they do always have to move.
So the person who proposed option one, I think proposed it with the current wording, and unfortunately has had to leave because he's got another commitment. So I might just need to quickly ask for some advice on the process there and whether it needs to be proposed differently by someone different. But in the meantime, we'll go to Councillor Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, my point sort of goes back to accessibility, that although we've heard that there's not been any specific complaints about the current street traders, I know that having spoken to lots of people, the city centre doesn't feel particularly accessible, not the least during the Christmas time. And I think sort of, you know, option two has been described as blanket by sort of one side, and option one, you know, you could say is also a blanket to just sort of say you can do whatever. And I think that you know, none of these options are particularly and without the map as well, I think it is actually quite hard to visualize what it'd be like. But I do think that option two is still is still better, and I think that it, with the working group, I think we've heard in this committee quite a few times now that things have gotten better since that working group. So I think that's a crucial element into being able to feed into that, rather than just giving option one, which is sort of a blanket option.
Thank you. Councillor Myers.
I'd be happy to propose option one if that needs re-proposing. I think I don't want to repeat myself what I've previously said, but I'll try just to summarise my view is that option one, I don't see any access issues with option one because we have granted street trading consents on specific pictures. We are therefore asking Make It York to work with what we have already given as a right through long-standing business relationships with street traders, and they can work around that so that the Christmas market is designed so that it's accessible and not overcrowded. Option two, blank canvas, whilst it might work for Make It York, my values don't tell me that it's a really good idea, because I can see straight away they're trying to move street traders off of their pictures to increase their profitability and sell to people to come in to take that Christmas trade. I don't, if there's an access problem, it should have been in the papers. That's the bottom line. I really can't, for all that we're talking about it, it's not described in this report. And so what's before us is something about values, which to me, I want to support the street traders, and that is only possible through supporting option one.
So just to clarify, are you proposing option one, but with an amendment about singling out one street trader to be moved? Or, because option one, as written in the papers, has been proposed and seconded. I just want, yeah, clarify what you're proposing.
I mean, I do know that pitch. It moves it just moves a little bit round onto the roadside, doesn't it, when the Christmas market's on? So is that not already within the street trading policy, or is it an informal arrangement?
It's a condition of every street trader's consent that if we have to move you for a reason, we can move you. So it is a condition of their consent,
so
yes.
In that regard, I don't think it needs adding on, because it's already part of the agreement.
It's night time. It's a different type of the day for the Christmas market.
But then wouldn't that apply to all street traders? If we option one would be they can all be moved a small amount without really specifying what a small amount is.
That's what they've already got. So that's what's already in the contracts. So that it is what they move a small amount, and that is what they do all the time.
I mean, as the street traders have found, some of the street traders have found out in the last 18 months with the installation of the HVM bollards, we've moved street traders a few metres or quite a few metres to accommodate, trying to keep the street traders trading, but also have taken into account that the bollard work had to be done, and Make It York did have events organised for Parliament Street, where we kept having to relocate the street traders for. So it could be the fact that we have to move street traders just a few metres, or we could have to move them that little bit, a bit further, but it all depends on what the situation is, what we're having to move them for.
Yeah, if it helps members, the actual condition is on page 122 at paragraph 22. And it says, on occasion, it is necessary for vehicles or units on a static site to move location. When this occurs, the consent holder shall comply with any directions made by duly authorised officer of City of York Council.
So it doesn't specify that it would be only a small amount?
No, it says that they can be moved.
I think the political spirit is obvious in the room, Chair, that we don't want them moved to the other side of the city. It's very obvious.
Just on that, I think in fairness, we do try and accommodate to people to be moved as close as possible.
I don't think any of the options include moving people, out of the city centre or removing them entirely, but
Anyway, the footprint of the Christmas market is different to moving you 2 metres or something because there's a bollard been put there.
okay. I can't see any other hands for debate. Councillor Waters.
Just very briefly, option 2 turns the street traders into chess pieces on the Make It York board to be moved at will. And that is the big difference between option 2 and 1. Can we please move to the vote?
I have one more thing to say, and I can't see another hand, so then we will go to a vote. I just wanted to respond to what was said about comparing it to like a shop in the Shambles, for example. I think that's quite a different situation, because if you rent a shop in the Shambles, you have a lease, you have a legal right to occupy that space. It's a commercial property for commercial purposes. You pay 20 or 30 times as much to have a lease and a right to occupy that space. Whereas with street traders, it's highways, it's council land, it's public land, its primary purpose is movement, transportation, any other purpose that the public, is in the public interest, and a much, much, much smaller amount is paid, and there is no legal right to occupy that space. It's consented on an as and when basis, and people can be removed or removed at any time. So I don't think that's a completely fair comparison. I take the point, I just don't think the comparison is entirely fair or accurate. And I can't see Councillor Willis, and then.
Sorry, it's a quick question. Is this paper confirming the fees for next year as well? Do we know what the fees are for traders?
Yeah, the fees will be before members in the budget in a few weeks' time.
So there's no more debate. So option 1, as written in the report, has been proposed and seconded, and nobody's proposed anything else. So if we've exhausted all the debate, we'll take a vote on that. So does anybody want me to read out the option again that's been proposed, or is everybody clear on what we're voting on? Okay, everybody's clear. So all those in favour of option 1, please show your hands. All those against? And any abstention? Okay, so there were 9 votes for option 1, 2 against and 2 abstentions. So option 1 has been selected. Thank you, everybody. Does anybody need a break before we move on to the next agenda item? Or should we move on? Okay, in that case, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 6, renewal of a sex establishment licence for the first floor of Ziggy's on Micklegate. So that starts at page 67 of our agenda. We'll just hold on to make sure all committee members are present so we can. Yeah. Okay, so I'll ask officers to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this report seeks members' determination of an application to renew a sex establishment licence for a sexual entertainment venue which has been made under the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1982 in respect of Ziggy's Club 55, 53 to 55 Micklegate, York. A copy of the application can be found at Annex 1 of the report. This premises is already licensed. It is a renewal application and a copy of the existing licence can be found at Annex 2. As this premises also sells alcohol and other licensable activities, it also holds a premises licence under the Licensing Act, and that can be found at Annex 3. A copy of the City of York Council Standard Conditions for Sexual Entertainment Venues is attached at Annex 4. The Council and North Yorkshire Police licensing officers visited the premises on the 29th of November to undertake an inspection in relation to the premises, so the licence that's issued under the Licensing Act 2003 and the sex establishment licence. Due to matters that were identified with regards to non-compliance with licence conditions, a warning letter was issued on the 3rd of December, and a further inspection was undertaken by officers on the 23rd of December, and then they confirmed that all the conditions were at that time had been complied with. The statutory consultation period was undertaken. North Yorkshire Police did object during the consultation period because the consultation period fell during the time that the inspection had been undertaken at the premises. The police withdrew that objection. As stated, everything was rectified on the following visit to the premises. The options, there aren't any options before members today. There is just a recommendation that members are asked to determine the application to renew the licence in accordance with the legislation. And that was a very quick overview of that report.
We'll just see if anybody has any questions before moving into debate. Does anybody have any questions about this? Yeah, Councillor Mason?
The conditions that were breached at the time, were they about the sex licence or just the normal alcohol licence or premise licence?
Both.
Okay.
Any other questions? No, then any debate or proposals? The options are start at the bottom of page 71 and continue on page 72. Councillor Mason?
Happy to propose that we issue it as applied for.
Okay, thank you. So that's one proposal for option 1. Any other proposals or anyone want to second that? Councillor Baxter?
Happy to second that, Chair.
All right, any debate or any other proposals? No, okay. In that case, we'll move to a vote. So what has been proposed is option 1, grant a renewal of the licence as requested. All those in favour? And I think that's unanimous, so I won't go through against or abstentions. Thank you, everybody. So that application is approved. The next item on the agenda is agenda item 5, which is about the local area profile as part of the gambling policy under the Gambling Act 2005. I'll ask officers to introduce this.
Thank you, Chair. As members may recall, at November's committee, I brought before you the licensing policy under the Gambling Act 2005 and the local area profile that we publish alongside that policy. At that time, members approved option 1 of the report, and we recommended to council that the policy was adopted and that the local area profile could be published. And a copy of the profile that was agreed at that committee can be found at Annex 1. In that committee, Councillor Hook raised a question with regards to the page in the local area profile which related to schools. And I said I would go away and seek further clarification. The information in the initial local area profile that was brought to you in November gave the ward catchment areas for schools, not the actual number of schools that was in each ward. And while looking into that a little bit further, when I was on the council's website looking at where all the schools were and in which ward, it also then came to light that our profile didn't mention the special schools that we have in York, which also then dawned on me, it didn't mention the private schools that we also have in York, and it didn't mention the colleges where, of course, under 18-year-olds attend. So at Annex 2, there is a new proposed area profile that is the number of schools that are in each ward, and it also details the wards where private schools, special schools and colleges are located. And the options before you today is to authorise officers to make no changes to the local area profile that was approved in November. Option 2, amend the local area profile that was approved in November to include details of wards where special schools, private schools and colleges that under 18-year-olds attend are located, and authorise officers to publish the amended local area profile. Option 3, authorise officers to publish the amended local area profile that can be found at Annex 2, which provides details of the actual number of schools in each ward and the detailed wards where special schools, private schools and colleges are located. And the recommendation is you choose option 3.
Okay, any questions? Before we move into debate or start making proposals? No questions. Okay, so any proposals or debate or Councillor Widdowson? Okay, so option 3 has been proposed by Councillor Widdowson. Anybody want to second that? Propose anything else? Councillor Mason? Is that to second it or to speak? Yeah, okay, so option 3 has been proposed and seconded. Would anybody like to propose anything else or have any debate on that option? No? Okay, so we'll go to a vote. All those in favour, shall I read out option 3? Is everyone clear on what we're voting for? Okay. All those in favour of option 3, show your hands. And again, that's unanimous, so I won't go through against and abstentions. So the only other thing on the agenda is just looking at a bit of an indication of what's coming up on future agendas. Obviously, we don't plan exactly what comes when because we're not scrutiny, but there's a bit of an idea of what sort of, and we don't know when applications will come in, that sort of thing, but there's a bit of an idea of what different policies are coming up and what we'll be looking at in the next few months. The street trading policy isn't on there currently because we don't know how long we can't really predict what meeting that'll be coming to. We don't know how long it will take to do that work. But obviously that's a area of work that we're working on as well. Councillor Mason?
I do think on the forward plan, we should have something about the task group, or whatever it is, focus group on the policy, because I think it's, you know, all these papers refer to the draft policy as if it's like this kind of very nice, tidy draft that we're just going to tweak with. But clearly, there's a lot more potential with that policy, and other members of this committee might not be aware of how root and branch that review is. So I think just, even if it's just a verbal update, I think at the next meeting, just so all members are aware, and it might prompt other members that then think, well, actually, I want to get more involved in this, thinking it was just a very nuanced look at a report. Sure.
I mean, we have working groups for most licensing policies. So in the last few months, we've had a working group on the gambling licensing policy and on the tax licensing policy. We had a very productive working group on, and the Licensing Act one. And it's an opportunity for any council on the committee who's interested in having that kind of early input, sharing ideas, whatever ideas anyone from any party has on how policy can be improved. It's an opportunity to have that input early on rather than waiting until it's out for consultation. And this working group on street trading policy is exactly the same. It's quite a large working group. We've got every party represented, and anybody who has any ideas or thoughts will be working on that policy and able to contribute those ideas just like any other working group. But we can
I think
there'll be quite a lot of work on that policy going on. We can talk about
I
bring
think
an
just,
update once we've made some progress.
I think the difference with this one, Chair, is you've got a draft policy that's already been consulted on. Oh, sorry. I think the difference with this is it's a draft policy that's already been consulted on, and I don't want anybody to think, you know, it's 90% there and this is a finessing group. This is clearly not a finessing group. So I just feel that's probably the difference in this case.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I'll note that down and we'll see when we can add that to an agenda. Any other points on this agenda item? No. Well, I don't have any urgent business, so that's the meeting concluded. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time, and that includes members of the public, anyone who's watching. Thanks. Have a good night.